because our next panel is on inclusive gender equality, shaping the future. So let me just get my speakers in. So if you can come to the stage, we have Gemma Irvine, who is Vice President of Equality and Diversity in Maynooth University in Ireland. We have Irene Norstedt, welcome, Director for People, Health and Society at DG Research and Innovation. That is a fabulous job title. Huge portfolio, I would imagine, but let's put Mathieu in. Where are you first? Sorry, I'm trying to mix the genders here. Mathieu Arbogast, who is project manager at the Centre National de la Recherche Scientifique. Welcome to you. And Marcela Linkova, who is ERA Action 5. You should know what that action is. Subgroup Member States co-chair. You can give them all warm applause. Okay, so likewise, I've terrorized all of you into being concise, have I not? And since we are a little over time, that applies. Let me remind us that just as a bit of a backdrop to this, that the new Commission presents, ahead of the grilling in the Parliament that's coming, a lineup, I think 40% are women, I think. So anyway, I'm just putting it out there. There's a... and as you all know, gender equality is absolutely a core value of the European Union and very essential in all these ways for this sustainable competitiveness. It's quite frankly, it's a waste of talent otherwise. And of course, just remember that this has been a priority of ERA since 2012 and was further reaffirmed in 2021 through a package adopted by the Competitiveness Council. So it's very important, not just in in strengthening the kind of the quality of knowledge, the kind of innovation, and all of that, but it involves addressing intersections of gender and other forms of discrimination, and also it's looking at the geographical and the sectoral inclusiveness, okay? So, as I said, an indefensible, that was the word I was looking for, waste of talent if we do not use gender diversity and equality. So we're going to look at some of the progress made, okay, in the context of ERA policy agenda, and perhaps just turn a little bit and touch upon future priorities. I'm going to ask you to do the same in just a moment, to introduce yourselves in but a few sentences. But first, we are going to use Mentimeter. I got you on it, I made you do it, so we must use it. And I'm going to ask you, we won't look at the result right now, but I'm going to ask you in the course of this conversation with these good people, what you, our audience, consider to be the most important achievement in inclusive gender equality. So you should see that in there, but we won't look at that now. So take your time, have a listen to what comes from these conversations, and then we will have a look a little bit later. So, a couple of words about your good self, Gemma. Ah, yes, sorry. You've got the unenviable task. You can't do the passionate that. Hold it here, like it's an ice cream, and try not to do that, because we'll lose you, and the lovely people online will lose you. Gemma.
Perfect, thanks. My name is Gemma Irvine, my pronouns is she and her, and I'm the Vice President for Equality and Diversity at Maynooth University. And this is a New Zealand accent that you're hearing, so if everybody's confused, that's okay.
Okay, and 2022 Gender Equality Champions Award holder?
Correct, yes.
The university. Okay, over to you, please, Irene. Director for People.
Indeed.
Tell me, what 3 things that you have to focus on mostly in your day job?
Oh, goodness. People. We actually added on health and society because people thought it was actually about HR management, which is not. It is about really health research strategy, keeping people healthy, and also the well-being, the social aspects, very important. Equal societies, democratic societies, very important. And gender, of course, is a very important aspect of that. So that is what keeps me busy.
Okay. What do you like best about your job?
People.
What do you like best about your job? I didn't ask you. You can hang on to that, Mike. What do you like best about your job?
I've got to say people as well. But I've got students, staff, academics, technicians, professional staff. It's like running a mini city. When you've got a university, you've got waste disposal, accommodation, you've got everything. So it's like a mini version of the European research area.
Okay. Mathieu, tell us.
So I'm Mathieu Arbogast. I'm working at the Gender Equality Unit at CNRS.
Yeah.
It's a very large and diverse research center with approximately all the disciplines. And I think I was invited here because we also got the luck to receive an award for our gender equality plan. So it's an opportunity to talk about it.
Yep, you got the 2023 Champions Award, did you not? Gender Equality Champions Award holder. And is it Marcella, because you're not Italian, so Marcella, indeed. Okay, you're head of the Centre for Gender and Science at the Institute of Sociology of the Czech Academy of Sciences. Tell us couple of things you do in your day job and what really rocks your world in this arena.
So what we do, because I have a great team, is that we support universities and research organizations implementing gender equality and gender equality plans, specifically providing training consultation. And we also work with our national authorities in the Czech Republic to support advancing gender equality. And then I'm active at the European level. And what rocks me is that spark in someone's eyes when they come to a training and they think, well, gender equality, why bother? And they come round. And that's the most rewarding thing for me.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's just stay with you, and then I will speak with Mathieu and with Gemma. And again, I'm going to have to ask you to package this up. If I do that, that means I'm saying kindly round off, good people, okay? I don't like doing that. That's not nice. Main achievements, just a couple of the main achievements in inclusive gender equality in ERA in the past years. What might you have seen, either at national level or your organisation? How does that translate into impact?
So I will speak to the EU level, because in 2021, we saw really bold and steadfast leadership in the Commission and at the member state level with the Slovenian presidency. And this generated the conditions which helped us advance where we are. So now we have the gender equality plan as an eligibility criterion in Horizon Europe. And it's one achievement, and it's having a catalytic effect, especially in the countries where gender equality policies are not advanced. Mm-hmm. The second bold achievement is that we started to properly address gender-based violence at the policy level. The first time ever. And so it's with tremendous joy and pride that I present today ERA Policy Action 5 Outcome Deliverable, the Zero Tolerance Code of Conduct, an outcome of 1 year of work of the ERA Forum subgroup on inclusive gender equality. We're launching it today. I cannot be prouder of this work. It lays the principles that we should all be following, the minimum standard, state-of-the-art for institutional response. And I want to really underline the importance of institutional courage and leadership in making this happen.
Thank you. I did a very rushed intro to this session, but I just want to stop 1 second, because all of the news recently in so many quarters in the violence that we have seen against women is shocking, is not even the word. So very timely. And and when I speak, again, I keep bringing her up to my 14-year-old daughter, who knows what's going on, different parts of the world in the news, and how you have these conversations. It's quite something. So, thank you. Mathieu, something of which you feel that's a great achievement, and perhaps an impact that you can see how that translates, at national level or organizational level.
Well, I will be not as impactful as Marcella, of course, but maybe just on a smaller scale, on an institutional scale of how we made it work, our gender equality plan, and why we managed to end up with an award is, first, I think it's to have an integrated approach, an integrated policy. We think our commitments as a whole, there are synergies, for instance, between our gender equality plan and HRS4S.
Yeah.
HRS4L. Sorry. But,
That's okay.
Among our achievements, as a research performing organization,
Yeah.
we do research on our HR data.
Yes.
We
Okay.
produce, for instance, an extensive report now online on the gender pay gap, because scientific evidence speaks to scientists. We also we're very happy to be a gender equality unit, to have a gender equality unit at the headquarters, but we wanted to have the equality actions implemented at the core of the labs. We have hundreds of labs all over France, and we now have 500 contact points, equality contact points within the labs, and we're still going on displaying in them. So it's something important to us, really. Something also important, and it's often an elephant in the room, is the work on reshaping excellence. And we started to rethink our evaluation criteria of the researchers. And of course, it's in line with Quora and other initiatives to forget about the index and take more into account things like what you do for the community.
Okay, nice. Okay.
And
a last point, or is it?
No, I think it's okay.
You said that so charmingly. I don't think it was because I scared you. I think it's because it was genuinely okay. That's how I'm taking it. More from you in a moment, for sure. Same question for you, Gemma. You know, achievements. What would you pinpoint? Something perhaps different, and where the impact is.
Absolutely. So I'm going to pick three in addition to the points of my colleagues. So I think the requirement of needing a gender equality plan has actually helped the engagement of men. And that is essential to advance change, particularly because they were holding all of the positions of power for so long. But it was also seen previously as a women's problem.
Yeah.
They weren't ambitious enough. They didn't have a voice. Whereas now we see this recognized as a societal issue. There are structural and organizational barriers within our organizations, and it's everybody's responsibility to address them. And because often these barriers are invisible to those who don't experience them, this is why what we call in Ireland equality, diversity and inclusion, or EDI, it has to be a practice, not an end goal. This is not about a tick box or just having a plan that goes on a shelf. This has to be a way of being. And in Ireland, we were following in line with European Commission requirements for gender equality plans for all institutions. Our three largest funding agencies have it as an eligibility requirement that in order to apply for funding, you need one. And our university core grant funding is linked to our progress on gender equality. So the impact of this is that we used to have 18% professors who were female. In 2022, we can now say 31% of our professors are female. And in Maynooth University, that's up to 36%. And before 2020, there hadn't been a single female president of any of our universities. And between a 3-year period, we've now got, point of time, 7 of 12 university presidents are now female. So that's 58%. So change is possible. So that's the first one. The second is that intersectionality. Because it's a key focus and there's recognition that those multiple forms of social categorization, such as race, class, and gender intersect, they lead to a distinct form of disadvantage and discrimination. And so this requires a flexible approach if we're going to help all of these individual people. And then the third one is the reframing of the work on gender equality as being an indicator of excellence in and of itself. So the Gender Equality Champions Award is important then because the work we do in a university is our day job, teaching and learning, research and engagement. And it's made excellent by doing it through the lens of EDI and gender equality. So having that external recognition of this work helps to engage more people and also makes the importance of that work more visible.
Thank you. Thank you for a very clear answer. Do you recognise when we heard this spark? I said, "What do you said?" It's people. Why would I do this? And then there's that spark. Do you recognise that also? That feeling of
every day
bringing,
every day. And the best impact I could say was when I wasn't anywhere near the room and staff across the university, of their own accord, in deciding on procurement processes, decided to pick the application that had a gender balanced team. That is impact. That isn't a requirement. It's not something they came up with it on their own. That is them doing their day job through the lens of EDI.
Thank you. So, a couple of minutes for you, if I may, Irene. What do you hear? What do you, what would you respond from both a personal but from a Commission point of view?
I think it's really fantastic to listen to what you're saying and the impact that we actually have had and have. The first time I came across this issue is actually 25 years ago in DG Research and Innovation. It was then called DG RTD. And we had something called Women in Science. And it was very much looked at on suspicion. What is that? We said we should have 40% in all evaluation committees, etc. And we really pushed. But it was really, there was a lot of resistance, I would say. And to see where we are today now, where we have gender equality plans as a requirement for research organizations for funding, and to see the impact it has for those institutions who are really working with that and using it as a tool, to foster real equality, I think is really fantastic. Something that hasn't been mentioned yet is also that we are also pushing very hard in terms of the gender dimension in the research that we are funding, which is another aspect which is also very, very important. And something else that hasn't been mentioned is also that we are increasingly seeing in terms of the funding and the evaluation procedure, how the gender balance is being looked at in the consortiums that are being funded. So I think these are other points to really bear in mind because they are really, really important. Marcelo also mentioned the Zero Tolerance Code of Conduct and on countering gender-based violence. And we have just put the report onto our website. I will certainly invite you to have a look at it. And from there, I think that you will all be shocked when you see that 2/3 of everybody working in this environment has been exposed to violence. And that is shocking.
Yes.
That is shocking.
Yes.
So please have a look at this report.
And there's more information outside, isn't there, in the exhibition?
Outside. It is.
Okay, thank you. I wonder whether just briefly you want to check in and see whether we've got some results in the word cloud, and then I will come, it's a little bit the same formula as for the first panel, what needs to be done in the future? How do we need to build on these developments, and a couple of insights into the Commission's plans. We've got a couple more questions to come. I have my eye on the clock, but I don't know, has anyone been busy? Hands up if you did input into the word cloud. Okay, so, all right, can you see this? Okay, if you've three of you have got I'm nearest, so I'm okay. You squinting there? All right, so what's the most important achievement? Gender equality plans. Gender equality plans as eligibility criteria. A safe space for diversity. You talked about the intersectionality, the complexity of that we have here. I've lost it now because there's so much, sorry, going on in this word cloud. The fact that it's on the agenda, recognition of that, power redistribution. Again, the compulsory plans. More young girls in STEM. Yeah, we've got elimination of violence, fair salary. So I think that's something that can keep evolving and that we can keep. That would be good to obviously keep this. So keep going. We'll let that. Any thoughts thus far? Any comment on anything? I mean, there's a lot to read there, so you can't see the plans as mandatory. The new normal we've got in there. We've also got valuing motherhood. But still not there. We have, what's the most important? We're still not there. So maybe we need to look at that as a segue into what more can we do. Over to you, Marcella.
Okay, so these are brilliant, and thanks for this input. And yes, indeed, going forward, what we need to ensure is that gender equality plans are not single policy cycle event.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can't discontinue them now. They have to continue for Framework Program 10. That's the most important thing that needs to happen, because we need to have the ground to evaluate their impact. We have been here before. We can't let this happen. We always do gender equality for a spell, then we get tired of it, and then we do the whole thing again. It's not good policy making. We need to do better. We need to go beyond gender equality towards intersectionality, as Gemma was saying. And this is nowhere more in evidence than in relation to gender-based violence, where we know that those people who are more at risk are marginalized people. Women, LGBTQI+ community, people from ethnic minorities, people with chronic illness and disability. So going forward, we need research in higher education to actually take a stance, show institutional courage and act. And so it's on this occasion of delivering today the Zero Tolerance Code of Conduct that on behalf of the Horizon Europe Gender Safe project, I want to launch this pledge for zero tolerance to gender-based violence, a pledge for institutions and individuals to show their endorsement and, more importantly, commitment to start working towards achieving what the Zero Tolerance Code of Conduct says should happen on their home turf. And Gender Safe will work with our communities, research communities, so please join us for this too, because we will work with research organizations to operationalize this Zero Tolerance Code of Conduct.
Thank you. Who will be clicking on that and making a pledge? Anyone, in the room? Can I see a show of hands if you would declare yourself a pledger? Okay. Okay, not sure if that was regal waving or definite, I'm going to do that, but I'll take it that it was definite. Okay, I'm just mindful. I was just going to say, I just wanted to, before I come to you, Matja, a question, because you had said in the opening, everyone is responsible to address these barriers, and DEI needs to become a practice, and, men are part of that conversation. They need to be. It's not someone else's problem to fix, because the woman isn't doing enough, the female isn't doing enough. I'm being careful of my language here. How is it for you working in that arena when you have discussions outside work with, I don't know, some of your male friends? Are they interested? It's just an aside, and then I give you a minute to talk about what needs to be done in the future. But how is it to work in the arena?
People used to be surprised around me. They're not anymore, and even people I meet. So I think it's now more obvious for most people that it's everybody's issue, and not only women's.
So tell me, you heard, this call for the future. What we saw there in the word cloud, more needs to be done. What do you think? If you had to pinpoint one thing to keep progressing, keep developing.
Only one?
Okay, two. Go on, two. You're
Well,
keeping them from coffee. I don't mind. You can just.
I'll be brief, but
yeah, go on too. Of course.
We have one problem and many challenges. The problem is that we did a good job hiring more female researchers in every field, but the pool of female applicants is shrinking in physics, for instance.
Yeah.
And we see in France fewer female students specializing in computer science, in math, and it's a problem for us in the future when they will not be able to apply because they won't be there. The challenges for us that we have a grip on is first gender fatigue, because time is an asset, but it's also foe.
Yep.
Sex, gender, and/or gender in research content, in research design, implementation, results. Of course, I concur with Irene. It's so important in so many research fields. We just opened the door. We need to go further, and there's room for everybody behind that door. We need to do more about men and fathers as workers among our ranks, not less about women, but more about men. Not only for men, but also about, and about fatherhood and parenthood and everything. And maybe just one last thing is also we need to do more about support staff, administrative and technical staff. Not less about researchers, but more about support staff. Yeah.
That's a nice segue, I think, to, well, when you said it's a mini, you've got all of those different, backgrounds, different job areas, different, and everybody is a part of that in this kind of mini city. Again, I think we've lost lots of power everywhere. Hold that thought. Just a minute for you, if I may. One, maximum two, what needs to be done? Where should the focus and the efforts be put?
Okay, I'm going to start with a quote from one of our researchers. Genius and talent is equally distributed across gender, race and class, but opportunity and access are not. And I think this is important because if we want to maximise the European research area, we have to get all of that talent and genius together, and it doesn't matter where it came from, the background or the lived experience. So the continued gender equality plan requirement, I think, is essential for EU funding. It gives us that structured approach, including the admin, technical and professional staff in our action plans is now a requirement in Ireland. So that is the holistic part of the university community focus. Data, I just wanted to mention, because it's very hard to create policy when you don't know what you're trying to fix. And often you need that data to know if you're changing anything, but also to know how it's changing as you're getting different flows of people. And so we're always trying to be evidence-based. I've had the gender dimension in research content, but I won't speak to it. I support Irene with that. And then the point that I will finish on, sneaking in more than just the one, with the intersectionality, it means you need a tailored approach to support people.
Yes.
So if you've got a white middle-class woman who has a family who supports education, wants them automatically to go to university, that's completely different to a white woman from a poor background whose family thinks that you're strange if you read books. These are actual people I'm talking about. This, again, is completely different supports in relation to a refugee who has come in, female, who is family values education, but they need the money, so you have to work, but you're also experiencing racism. And then the final one, a highly educated African ethnicity woman who had to move country and then found that their education as a lawyer wasn't recognised, so they had to start again right from the bottom. Those four women need completely different tailored supports to help with those social, cultural, capital gaps and to navigate the invisible rule book that a lot of us take for granted.
Thank you. Thank you for the details. It's very important to unpack that in the detail. excellent to hear that. Let me just come to you for a minute, Irene, and then what I'm going to do, just because I really do need to keep this all show on the road. That last question I'm sorry to put pressure on you, which is, again, picking up on the intersectionality, the inclusive gender equality. Why is it so crucial? I think I'm going to reframe that in 2 sentences, but not yet, because I'm coming to you first. What's at stake for the realization of the 5th freedom and the future of ERA if we don't get that right? So I'm just asking the same question, but just a couple of sentences. But over to you again to talk. What are the Commission's plans in terms of next steps, the future?
Okay, so of course we will continue to support the use of the gender equality plans. We currently have it as an eligibility criteria for research organizations. We know that in the private sector, it is actually already quite frequent that you have it in the private enterprise, but that may be a step that we will take in the future to expand. Something that I think you alluded to, which is really important, and that is really to make more efforts in attracting more girls and young women into STEM education. That is something really important. But also what is very important is to look through the whole career paths and see how we can support. And there also, to be fully sort of gender appropriate here, we should also look at, we actually have other sectors where there are more female than men, and where we should actually support more men to get into these paths as well. So I think it's important to really keep that in mind. We will, of course, continue to have the Gender Equality Champions Award. We're starting to have the Champions League, as we call it, and we have seen the impact it has on the organizations who has received these awards. And also what's very inspiring is that starting from the gender aspect, indeed, how to expand that into the intersectionality and how to really use that as a model to go into other areas to achieve more equality in organizations, I think is very inspiring. So we will continue to do this.
Thank you. Okay, a last word from each of you. Just a couple of sentences, if I may, because you've got an audience that's been doing a hell of a lot of listening, and it's uncustomary for me not to be able to invite your questions, as you may imagine. I'm sure you've sat in the audience for many events, but, you know, why is this so important? This inclusive gender equality, this intersectionality. Here we have this 5th freedom. Here we have ERA moving on. If we don't achieve this, what happens? So why is it so important in just a few sentences?
We talked about courage and boldness. I want to say institutional betrayal, because that's what we do when we do not act against discrimination and gender-based violence and inequality. As leaders, as team leaders, as leaders of institutions. And I think that we really need to focus on this responsibility that we have. And I was really moved by Anneke's speech and input about early career researchers. We are wasting talent.
Okay.
We act as if we don't care about the people who are entering the system. This has to stop.
Very strong words for those of you who are on social media or going to share this conversation. Institutional betrayal. I think that's a very good use, a very good terminology there. Let me come to you, if I may, Gemma. So what would you say? Again, I've got to keep you contained, if that's okay, because these people will need caffeine at a certain point in not too long. Go for it.
So we need to resist the narrative that this is fixed, that we've done gender equality for a number of years now and it can go away. It's a practice. It's not an end goal. We have to work on it every day. Each of us creates culture in what we say and don't say, what we do and don't do, and what we tolerate and don't tolerate. Individually, we're unique, but collectively, we're diverse. So if we're to realise the era which has the capacity to accelerate innovation, tackle societal changes and bolster European competitiveness, we need the most diverse talent, genius pool that we can find, and only then will we be able to tap the potential of our research and development strengths and maximise the opportunities offered by that single market.
Thank you very much. That's a great quote. And when we chatted, it's a great quote, which I'm going to pinch from Gemma when I am working more in this arena later this week. Matthew.
Yeah.
Mathieu, sorry.
Yeah.
Mathieu.
It's all right. We were reminded in the keynote of the vision that started the Union, European Union, and science has definitely a role to play in this building of something common and progress for the common people. But bringing evidence that science is good and efficient, it's not enough, because we know the context. We know that there are stronger forces, adverse forces, organizing forces, and these are the same forces that are working harder and harder against science, against equality, against democracy. So these values are very complementary, and altogether we can be, and at least try to be, a force to keep them together.
Yeah. Thank you. Very powerful statement. Last powerful statement to you. Just a few sentences, if you will, please.
Yeah, thank you. So we've heard in the keynote speech also about the fifth freedom.
Yeah.
And I think this is an area where, as you were mentioning, is a lot of untapped potential that we really need to use. And I think today we see quite also a big discrepancy between different countries across Europe and how this is viewed. And I think that really, really demands courage from all the countries to take the steps. Ireland was very brave to put gender equality plans also on the criteria for national funding. I really hope that other countries will do that as well, and that we really can ensure that we use all the talent that we have in Europe. We will need it.
Indeed, thank you. I had so many good things there. Again, it's unfair that you have so little time, but you said a lot of good points. I did hear about, you know, this reshaping of the excellence evaluation criteria. That was very interesting to me, that, you know, in all of your labs, you've got this mainstreamed, I think you said, you've got this contact point for gender equality, as I understand this. Very good. I mean, the point that you made, data. Listen, if we want to shape the direction of policy, we need the data to do it. Really nice explanation of why intersectionality, why it's complicated, how we need to be thinking about very different people with very different experiences, and bring everybody in terms of gender into that conversation to address those barriers. So many other things, but thank you. I'm going to say now just some warm thanks to these speakers. Will you be around for the reception? Okay, so further conversations are possible. Can we please give a warm round of applause to all of them? Thank you.